Good afternoon. This is Kim Taylor. This is the December 4th meeting of the Harbor Management Commission Plan Update Committee. In this COVID era, the public will not be heard by the members of this committee. However, we request and we would look forward to any email comments that you wish to send us. They would be directed to the Harbor Management Commission at fairfieldct.org with Plan Update Committee 12/4/20 meeting in the subject line. Those comments will be included in the minutes. If you have given us your name and address, your email address would not be included with your comments. So attending this afternoon we have, and let me just run through the roll here, Jack.
Yes.
Jack and Mary Von Kanta.
Yep.
And Jeff Stedman.
Yes.
And Mark Foster. Cheryl Beacock. Doug Metchik.
Yeah, here.
Good. Okay, and maybe Cheryl will have an opportunity to join us in just a few minutes, in the next minute or so. So everyone, I sent out earlier today the last revision of the SurveyMonkey questionnaire. We've looked at this a number of times, and I believe the only difference between this and what we intend to go live with is that we've decided that question 11 sadly will be eliminated because there's really kind of no way for us to respond or tabulate and use in a constructive way the responses to number 11. My thinking is, and I would I please, if you have other thoughts or ideas, please chime in. My thinking is that we would present this questionnaire in the PDF form to the commissioners at the December 15th meeting, because in part we haven't figured out a way to make it live without well, that's an inartful way to say we haven't figured out a way to give the commissioners the opportunity to use it on the SurveyMonkey website without having it their results be tabulated, and we can't really do that until we've gotten their okay to put the questionnaire on the website. So we would give them the survey and ask them for their responses, and then I would like to be in a position to say to them, the commissioners, that we're planning, give them a start and stop date when the survey would go live. So I guess I'm looking for responses to that and some suggestions for when we would, specifically when we would start it.
Kim, this is Jeff. Could I
yes,
make
Jeff?
a comment? Because I put that together, and it doesn't
Please.
look very good at all on the PDF, but that was my first effort to get it into the paying format where there are boxes where you can type in answers. The previous survey was the free version that allowed for 40 responses, but it didn't have the opportunity to add comments. So I was able to start to set that up, at least get in the figure out how to put an image like the town seal on the survey, and the link to the website worked. So I'm still working on that. It doesn't look good when it came out in the PDF form, but before December 15th I can make it look a little better. And the reason for not, and maybe there is a way to do it, but I couldn't figure out how to set it up so people could test it without starting to pay for it.
Right.
Maybe there is a way to do that, but I couldn't figure it out. And then I put this into an account that I have in another town for a survey, because I couldn't figure out how to get that rate of $38 a month or whatever. But anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying it doesn't look that great now, but it looks good to do when you're online and you can fill in the, type in your answers into the boxes. So we can improve it for the appearance of it on the PDF for December 15th.
Well, I don't know what other folks think. I think it looks pretty good this way, and we need the commissioners to look at it and to think about responses to the questions. But since we don't want we can't have them take it, I'm comfortable sharing whatever the version is that you can come up with by the 15th with them.
This is Doug. I have a couple of questions and comments, and I know that I missed the last meeting of this group, so I'll apologize because some of it may have been addressed in my absence, and so if that's the case, I don't want to rehash the thinking of the group. But the first question, by the way, this is excellent. Jeff and the folks who put it together, I think this survey is great. I think it hits all of the points. It's going to be very useful. And in the form that I looked at it this afternoon is really, really good. My question has to do with, toward the end, questions 6, 7, 8, 9, where we're trying to get a sense of the importance of some of the initiatives, for priorities. Did the group discuss at all using this, what I'll call 3-point scale of very important to not important versus like ranking on a scale of 1 to 10? And the reason I'm asking the question is because I think, having done a lot of surveys, that there's a high possibility that we just get, very importance across the board, in which case, how do we determine how to prioritize at the end, if everything's a priority? You know what I'm saying? And so having people rank it potentially on a scale of 1 to 10, or maybe a system that's more than 3 points, even at 5 points, might start to, it's just a directional guide, but might start to create a little separation between initiatives.
I think that has that's not a bad idea. Is there any problem with just changing those things, Jeff?
No, and we did talk about this, about a different way of getting responses to those priorities. But in responding, Doug, to what your thought is, I think we had thought all along that those are the priorities, and we're not going to we're going to pursue all of those, and it's not really based on. We're not going to drop one to be less important than another based on public comment. And so part of this was to help inform the public of what we're working on, and to see if they have other things that we want to add. But I think we started out with the understanding that these are the priorities that we've looked at for some period of time. We're telling people these are. You know what I mean? We're not trying to eliminate some or make one more important than the other. I guess we're trying to gauge public interest and support, but the priorities stand. That was the way I was looking at it.
With that understanding, I guess what I'm asking is, so with that understanding, and I get it, if the answers to numbers 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all, let's say, 90% very important, 90% of the respondents ranked it as very important, does that support a particular case, or in any way within what the committee's responsible for, would it create some, because I'm not suggesting that some of these things would fall off the priority schedule, I get the point. How we manage them within the resources of the group could change if certain things showed to be of lesser importance than more based on public interest. So that's the basis of the question. It's not to try and vet whether these are priorities or not. I think, and by the way, sometimes in doing surveys, there's outcomes like that are desired. So all I'm suggesting is I think there's a very high probability that all of these things are ranked as very important. that we see, a significant, a vast majority of respondents will indicate very important, which could be very appropriate in this case.
So let's play this out. So if we had the 10-point scale, which is probably maybe the most complex array of choices we might offer, if we had one which averaged 8.5, another one that averaged 9.5, Jeff's point is it wouldn't change our sort of behavior really, but it could be instructive for us to understand differences potentially, depending on the sample size, of what perception of the community would be around these different questions.
Right, it could be a directional guide in terms of how we spend our
doing
time.
this, and it might reveal some differences in view that would be masked by the more simplified set of choices. I'm not sure we'd get fewer completes on the survey by using that technique, 1 to 10 versus 1 to 3, basically, but it might reveal some differences in people's perceptions.
Yeah, and most commonly, for whatever it's worth,
but it could be instructive.
Yeah,
well,
most commonly, for whatever it's worth. That's what I was going to say exactly. 1 to 5. 1 to 5.
It's very
ranging
common,
from very important to least important.
Yeah.
And where we, if I recall correctly, where we started with this was that we listed each of these priorities, and we asked for comments about each.
Mm.
And we decided that was not going to be useful because then we'd have too many differing things that couldn't kind of be tabulated and looked at easily.
Just a bunch of verbatims, right?
Yeah.
Well, so for whatever it's worth, I would be, interested in a 5-point measure from a 3, only because I don't think it would reveal things to be of any lesser priority. It might just give it might give us the ability to get a slightly more detailed sense of what the public is thinking.
Yeah.
I agree. I think
I'll
that's a good idea, Doug.
To include that, yes.
Yeah.
And then my second comment
with a scale.
What is that, Mary?
Exactly.
Are you going to do it with words or with a scale, Jeff? In other words, 0 to 5 with a 3 in the middle, and underneath it, this means this, that means the other thing, or whatever. I don't know. But
there's a format for doing that, Mary. I can look at it and share, and then you can see if you think it's okay. Unfortunately, I'm sitting in the car with the rain hitting the roof of the car. I don't have the computer or the thing in front of me, so I'm sorry.
But SurveyMonkey has that format.
Going fishing, are you?
Yes. There are standards. There are several formats for doing that. We'll figure out the right way to do it. But the consensus, the agreement is to add a 5-point upscale, or however we describe that. I'll do that.
Just to give some more distinction between them. My other question in reading it had to do with question number 9, which is around the mooring rules and the mooring system. This was probably discussed too, but it seems to me that updating and fine-tuning the mooring rules and managing the online mooring system potentially are 2 different things. And so I wonder if the group discussed, should they be in one question, or should that possibly be 2 different questions? One being, continuing to update the rules, and the other being related to the online mooring system.
Well, but that's a very good question, because by the time this survey is released, we may have the commission may have finished the updating of the rules and procedures.
Inshallah.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I would say that could be eliminated, because they're not going to do anything about that. They have a chance to go to this meeting, right? Before this goes out, or after this goes out?
Absolutely.
This would not go out, Mary, until January.
Special meeting, when you have a special meeting to approve this, to approve the rules and regulations. When that meeting is over, you either have it approved or not approved.
Right.
And so,
the only reason we put this in the survey was because it's one of the 4. When we started out with the plan update effort, it was one of the 4, if you will, prongs of new things that had happened since the plan was updated that we felt we needed to include. I mean, I guess I'm wondering. Doug's asking, should this be 2 questions?
Where they can get a hold of the rules, right?
Well, my question is, Doug asks, should we make it 2 questions? I'm wondering if we should make it any question.
Yeah, well, and when I asked that question, the first thing I thought I'm not sure whether the online mooring system, how relevant that is as a question or not. I think the town and the commission's committed to the mooring system.
Right.
And so, whatever the responses come from that, I'm not sure what kind of bearing they would have. And so, and so for me, the question would be whether this is a viable question or not, given the meeting that's coming up, although the other part of it is maybe there's some aspect of mooring rules that is a living, breathing thing. So even if the rules are approved at some point, this just says continue to update and fine-tune. So I'd be fine with leaving it out, but I could also see a reason to leave it in. Either way, from my perspective.
My experience with these special meetings where you approve rules and regulations, and these have been published, right, on the town website, so everybody in the whole world can have a chance to read them. And have you received any suggestions in relation to the rules as published on the town website?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You have. From other people,
we've responded to them, yes.
You have. From the board, from the commission only, or from other people?
Others.
Other people.
Other than the commission?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Others.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and that's all gone into what you have done with this changing?
Correct.
Already?
Correct.
Yes.
Or no? Okay. Yes. So now you have done this, and you're now presenting what you have as a finished product, right, at this special meeting?
Correct.
So
obviously subject to feedback at the hearing, but yes.
Yes, which could then at that very minute be incorporated into them before it goes.
Right.
Correct.
Is that right, Jeff? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a done deal as of that special meeting. Whereas
until the next time it gets changed, I took Doug's point to mean that going forward, and this has been updated 4 times already since it was first introduced. So there will be future updates as well, not anytime soon.
Under constant discussion. And
I sort of am where Doug is on this. I feel like we could remove it. I'm not sure what real extra value we get by leaving just that piece in, and I agree that the online mooring thing is a fait accompli. We're done with that at this point.
It's a fait accompli, but have you done a question? Are you questioning how difficult people find it?
How difficult people find it?
In other words, what is the purpose? This one, comment, continue to update and fine-tune the harbor's mooring rules and procedures. All right, we've already decided to do that. Okay, that's fine. It's very important to continue to do that.
Right.
And the new online mooring administration system, continue to update that as well. Is that what you would like?
I'm not sure. I mean, Doug, if I'm sort of restating what I heard, saying that the town committed to that a year ago. It's been in place for a year, more than a year now. I just guess coming up on a year, and we're not going to back off of using that on a go-forward basis. So.
Have you had many complaints about that? Has Ed?
He's had some hiccups with people converting from sending paper to the harbor master and paper checks, but then he got plaudits from other people who said, "Welcome to the 21st century." So I mean, it's a mixed set of group, and the guidance we got from the company that does this told us that the first year is the most difficult, and after that, people just get into line. So,
but by and large, I mean, it's been people have adjusted, and there's been very little comment.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. So either way,
done deal.
Right. Now, if you want to get any kind of feedback from the new rules and regulations. They're published by the time this goes out, let us assume.
Right.
And because it seems highly likely they will be. They will be have been
Mary,
moderated.
It won't be a priority
Jeff?
to the extent that it previously was, because the Commission has addressed it.
I know.
It was a priority to update them, and now they've been updated with plenty of opportunity for, and still more, public comment. So maybe we either eliminate the question or think of we give them the opportunity, the respondents, to suggest other priorities, but yeah, I think. But
we certainly could. Doug's question, Doug's suggestion, or looking at this and seeing two questions, we could certainly ask the question. We could certainly, number 9 could stay, continue to update and fine tune the harbor's mooring rules. Period.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And the use of an online mooring administration system is really a function. Yeah. It's within those rules.
Right.
Really.
Right.
Right.
So one kind of fits inside the other anyway. I mean, there's a whole lot more to the mooring rules. Right. So I would be fine with that.
And certainly, if we ask the question that way, ask about just updating and fine tuning, that might tell us if there are people out there that are unhappy even with the update, which might be good information to have.
Mm-hmm. Because the mooring administration is an
here's another thought, ladies and gentlemen. Could we have I'm sorry to say this, but let's see. We have recently updated the harbor rules and procedures, and we have introduced a new online mooring administration system. And then asked for, how do you feel it is? How do you feel they are? And they don't. Half of them won't know what they are to begin with. If they're telling people to walk their dogs, they won't know. Okay? And for example, so this is
so you're suggesting, Mary, that we
already have done this and get some kind of a ranking from them on that.
Right. So we understand if people are satisfied or think that there's more work to do.
Yes, well, and I think we, looking towards the future, if we have just completed these, introduced these two things to the public, and they're whatever, they're there now. But we know that we frequently update these things. So if there's anything that you would like to make suggestions about, or say anything about either one of these things, say mark yes or no, and then attend the meeting and still say them. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big fan of inviting the general public in to make comments about things.
Well, we're not giving them the chance to make comments except to say how important they think these things are. So
check a box.
Check the box. But
check the box.
I think
how important are they to you, or how often?
Right, and I think Doug's point about continuing to update and fine tune the harbor's mooring rules is a legitimate question to ask, because it's something that the Commission will be concerned with. Yeah. Over time, regardless of when was the last time the rules were updated. So,
my worry about it, I hear you. My worry is that it's not like a revolving door of rule changes and updates. I mean, realistically, the truth is, I don't think there's going to be a lot of appetite to revisit those rules once they get approved, hopefully in a week or two, for quite some time. The last time these were looked at was in 2015, and before that, 2010. So my own view is I'd take the question out. I just feel like Doug's right. The online mooring system is an administrative system to administer our rules. And we will have just updated the rules with tons of public input opportunity, and asking about it or suggesting that we're open to more changes might send the wrong message right now, doing something in January.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And you know what, Jack? So Survey 101 is less is more. The fewer questions we have, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
more
get
complete.
to the heart of what we want to do.
Right. We want.
And I think about
right.
in this case, what are we going to do with the answer anyway?
Right. In fact, it might blow up in our face if we don't intend to go back and revisit our rules right away. So I'm inclined to remove it.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Let's take it out.
All right. I think that makes sense. And if you right below that, it says, "Do you have any suggestions for additional projects? Please include them here."
Right. So that would be question 9. Yep, and that would be, so we'd have a total of 9 questions.
Yeah, 9 questions, yeah.
Okay.
This would be, wait a minute, yeah, okay, so this becomes question 9, yeah. Then you can ask for anybody to make a suggestion, and that's not too hard to run. You can make a list of the suggestions and tick it off as to how many you get of each suggestion, and that's it. That's all you need to know.
Right.
Yeah. And it does not apply, DNA, because there are people, as I say, who walk their dogs who couldn't care less about rules and signing up for their moorings, right, on a computer.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about the survey itself?
I think it's very good. I think it's
very good too.
Me too. I agree. Yeah. Really nice job.
Okay. Really good. So, any thoughts? The publicity, how we're going to get it to folks. My thought is to put it up on the HMC website. Have Ed send an email to everyone in the online mooring system and ask the First Select Woman's office if she could include it in her weekly or biweekly Town of Fairfield message to message to folks in town. I don't know. I'm not sure I think we've exhausted, but I'm wondering if anybody's got any other ideas about where and how we could get the word out.
Yeah, unless there's a database for the folks who are making use of the town sailing vessels and the community.
You can send out. You can make a list of the people that you would like to get to.
We just want their email. We want an email to go to those people. So we just need a file that's got all their email addresses.
But you first of all need to know the group.
I talked to Mr. Steve Ferguson, who's the president or the chairman of Community Sailing, about distributing it to his group. So he just simply replied, "That's not a problem. I'll
so we just
take
send
care
it
of
to
that."
him and he'll shoot it along to
Okay,
people.
good.
Perfect.
So then we have Ed would mail it. We would, if the First Select Woman would put it in her email blast, and then Community Sailing. Anybody else that we could?
Well, there's the Sasquatch Association may have a database of people as well, and that would certainly get people interested in the general area.
Okay. And the first select person, and the harbor master.
Right.
The harbor master, and then the yacht club, or do you want to just? Yes, the harbor master is number 1 on the list. And then the yacht club.
Right.
Well, we could add
an email. They put out a text. It takes them 5 seconds to put out a text to everybody who's in the Pequot Yacht Club.
Right, with the link embedded in it. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any other groups that I'm not thinking about that are?
Well, that's what I guess that's
the Parks
what
and
I'm
Recreation Department.
Which one?
The Parks and Recreation Department in the town.
Do they have an email list?
No, they have ways of putting out information about to anybody who they put them out on the Facebook or whatever. They don't put out the whole thing, the survey or anything, but we're directing this towards local people.
Well,
we want to give them the link to the SurveyMonkey survey, so it needs to be electronic, ideally.
Yeah, there are people who come in from Fairfield by boat, and there are people who come in. Quite a few people.
That's
who come
true.
In by
we
boat,
would get a whole.
Come in by on the feet too, in the cars, and Southport has such a bad reputation for, in the town as a whole, for being totally snobby and not liking it or not caring about anybody else.
Hey.
Oh, come on! I know what I'm talking about. Don't tell me to stop. I have sat through a lot of Parks and Rec meetings and heard that over and over and over again.
Yeah, I hear you.
And one of the fellows from your group, the last time I talked to someone, it was when we were applying for the SHIP grant, and he wanted the Harbor Commission to decide not to apply for the grant so that your group could apply for it. I said, well, maybe you might want to come to the commission meeting and ask them that personally. And then, anyway,
no
I'm
way.
just teasing, Mary. I'm
I'm not talking about those kind of people. I'm talking about the town of Fairfield. No, they don't. They have plenty of places to go. They don't have to go.
So the first selectwoman's email going to everybody in the community, or many people in the community, should get us a good cross-section of.
Yes,
I would think so. And I don't. We haven't gotten the okay yet. I mean, we still have to appeal to Jen Carpenter to get it to see if she can get it in a blast. But
I looked at the one that just came out today, and they've got things in there that certainly this I would think should qualify. But we can.
I would certainly hope so. I would certainly hope so.
I do
too. And the way they posted the announcement of the public hearing on the town's homepage was also quite effective, I thought.
I agree. Yeah.
Anybody going to Fairfield's homepage would see it.
Town news, right at the first page. Right.
So we get it in the town of Fairfield homepage.
Mm-hmm.
That's
in the news area, right?
Yeah. Okay. And
now you have questions about. This gets me into this other part of this thing. Somewhere along here, it says something about when you say how do you enjoy Southport Harbor.
Right.
There's a box there that says junior sailing programs, including high school programs. How do we get to that group? And that's an important group. And I also had a thought about that question: is how do you enjoy / reuse? I think that because enjoy is not if you use, it's a little more something else. I don't know if you want to put that in. I don't really care that much, but it occurred to me enjoy use would be a double thing. It'd be helpful.
Well, do we know who is Evan Olmsted, the coach, a high school sailing coach? Do we know who the coaches are?
But he's not a high. He doesn't. I don't think he does Fairfield high school sailing. Okay. They have coaches for that. They could get me. Right. You could ask Jeff Engborg to notify the coaches. I don't know. I mean, I have a few copies of this floating around. I don't know. I have no idea. The high school sailing takes in several schools from Fairfield.
Right.
Some of them are private, and some of them are public.
Right.
And it's a very good program, and it is a very good thing that is being done.
So, Mary, could you find out who the coaches are?
Sure.
Because then we could. I mean, the sailing season is spring or fall, and they're not. This is winter, and but the coaches would still know who was on their teams in the spring, and certainly in the fall, and certainly who they were hoping would return in the spring, and we could contact them and send the link to the coach. Contact the coaches.
Send an email
but at any rate, then the coaches themselves might like to respond to this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you could find out who the coaches are, that would be great. Because then
if anybody knows, I can find out.
No, they definitely know, because those folks get paid. So
but they change them like some people change their underwear. So you have to.
Right.
But I know how to get through to it and work my way through it if I have to.
I mean, certainly if we could get the prep coach and the two town of Fairfield. Well, I don't know if they have two coaches or if they've got a combined team, but
they have a whole bunch of people running in and out, and they change all the time. But it would be.
So if you could find out, that would be a great help. Then that gets us to the
all right,
that
and
answers
then we can
that
approach
question.
them individually, right?
Yes.
I don't know how you want, or send. I don't know. Do you get their email?
Well, if you can find out the names and their email addresses, we can just send them a link. I mean, I envision I envision putting together a sort of a general email that would go to people like Jeff Ingborg at the Yacht Club and to the fellow who runs Community Sailing, and we could and emailing it to them since we can't approach them in person, and so we can certainly include we could certainly just include the high school coaches as part of that emailing.
Yeah, and also we could, if I could get a way to contact them myself, I could also ask them to get a sense of what their kids are feeling like, because it's really a big deal. All this is going on.
Yeah.
And, it's a major deal, and it's a major contribution to the community. So I'm sure I'm okay. I've said what I have to say. I'll be right back. I have to go to the door here.
Okay.
Tim, it occurs to me that the content that Jeff wrote for the first page of the survey, a subset of that content would be very good for the First Select Woman's blurb, possibly for these emails asking people to get people to sign up. So I don't think we have to do a whole lot of writing, and it might be good to use some of the very same language that's used in the first page of the survey for consistency purposes. So it might be really easy to draft what we need for the First Select Woman's announcement if we just pick up copy for not all of it really, but just a bit of what he's written.
Yeah. Good idea.
All right, I'll get a hold of those coaches and see what they want to say, or if I can find them. They're
okay. Good. Thanks,
they come
Mary.
and go.
And maybe we should also, the one other, Mary makes a good point. Maybe we should contact the Shellfish Commission, since we're also asking about shellfishing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, with a great understanding that there's no shellfishing in Southport Harbor, right? The oyster bed
Mary,
is dead.
Well, but on the outer harbor there is.
Yes. That's true, on the outer harbor. That's true, and it's right there in our area of responsibility.
Yep.
But Mary, remember that.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You know more than I do.
No, that's not true. But there is potentially shellfishing in Southport Harbor. You can't harvest. That was one of the big issues when we were preparing the plan for the Shellfish Commission to be able to harvest shellfish. They can't be harvested for consumption directly, but it can be harvested and transplanted, and they could. I mean, it's never really happened that way, but the harbor is a natural shellfish bed.
Right.
And remember, we were talking about the Shellfish Commission saying, well, we have jurisdiction over natural shellfish beds and what can take place there. So we had to reach an accommodation with them to achieve the approval and adoption of the plan. That's why
at the present time, the oyster beds up in the upper harbor, right beyond where the yacht club's mooring field is, towards the what do you call it? The bridge, where
the
tide mill
used to live. Tide mill. Yeah, that area in there has not been. Oysters have to be farmed. And you have to rake the soil frequently and all that sort of stuff. And I haven't seen any boats going in there to pick this up, but that's not a bad idea to have that start happening.
But theoretically they could do it, Mary, and that was the reasoning behind. And Kim and I were talking earlier about the removing a third of the moorings each year from the harbor. That was to accommodate the Shellfish Commission in case they wished to farm the bottom or to plant or harvest or whatever they wanted to do.
It's also to check the mooring gear, right?
No, of course it is. But I'm saying that the 1/3 every year was an accommodation to the Shellfish Commission to get them to approve the plan or to.
Well, last time I heard, the Shellfish Commission is getting very active. And they
are very active, and since we're asking about shellfishing as a way to use the harbor, I think it makes sense to at least to alert the Shellfish Commission to the survey. And I mean that's all that we need to do
and
here.
Are they, how about coming into the harbor?
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
how about coming up with a start and stop date sometime in January?
Right.
I don't. The commission itself meets on January 18th, but I have no preset notions of how soon after the first of the year this should go out. And I think we said we'd like it to go out. We'd like it to be available for a couple of weeks. But Doug, or any ideas about how close to holidays or how far away from holidays these things get more attention than otherwise? Or
I mean, the only thing that I was thinking about is that the first week of January, the harbor master is going to be sending through the online mooring system the renewal information for everybody who's got a boat or is on the waiting list, and as well as the people with docked vessels on private docks, and to renew their applications or their submissions. So it may be that we don't want to be hitting people with the email from through the online mooring system about completing a survey at the very same moment that we're doing this. So I would stay away from the very first week when Ed is sending that out, but anytime after that I think would be fine, because he's going to be doing processing of applications through January, and typically he does a extension up through the end of February. So I don't think we want to wait. He can do it during January, just not in the first week. I think might be a mistake.
And the other thing in my mind is the special meeting. When is that going to be scheduled now? Do you have any idea about that? You have to go through your...
There is no... The public hearing is on Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Okay, that's it.
So January...
The rules have been published. Okay, all right. So that's
January. The only thing on the Harbor Management Commission calendar would be a meeting on, not the 18th, but the 19th of January. So...
I mean, my point was just not to confuse people.
Yeah.
So if we separate it by a week or so, that should avoid confusion.
Right. I think you're right. So that's a good... I don't think many people are going to be jumping on airplanes and running away, because it's going to be that'll be the height of this epidemic.
So what do you guys think about the beginning of the second week of January after Ed has done his
something like that
solicitation?
The 11th?
I think that's a good idea.
The 11th?
Right.
Sure, why not?
And that's a Monday. That's the second Monday in January. And do we want to run it? I mean, run it for the rest of the month? That would be 3 weeks.
Now, Doug, what's your experience of how long being in the field makes sense, where it doesn't get stale, but it's not too short? I don't know.
Yeah, in this forum, my experience with this tends to be with customers or folks who have a familiarity, and we always have something I call like a double down date, which is within the first 72 hours, you're going to get at least 50% of your responses, But I think we should probably, if we leave it open for longer than a week, then we should send a reminder, would be my suggestion. So if we were going to leave it open for, say, 2 or 3 weeks or whatever the period of time is, then we send an email out once, and then we send something else out, a week or two later, reminding people that the survey is going to close and it's their last chance to respond.
Okay.
So I would probably say we do one of those two things: either just put it out for a week and look at what we get, or put it out for a longer period of time, and then give a second pulse for anybody who may have seen it but not responded.
So I'm also thinking about the automated emails that are generated for the renewal process in online mooring. So if we did at the end of the first week in January, the beginning of the second week is the original solicitation, waited 2 weeks, we'd be still 1 week before the end of January. Is that correct? Am I thinking about that right?
Right. The 11th and the 18th are the 2 Mondays.
Right, because we don't want to be near the end of January, because that's when Ed is telling people that the deadline at the end of January is coming. We have a extra time in the month of February. We don't want to get hung up in that email either. So maybe that makes sense. So do it the first week, the beginning of the third week, and then end the whole thing at the end of January. And that way we won't run afoul of Ed's automated emails.
So do we think that people, should we start it on a weekend, give it 1 weekend or 2 weekends? Are people going to be more likely to do this since it's not
the First Select Women's mailings go out on Friday, so I think we have to think that that's going to be the big hit of a lot of people. So I think we should sort of operate around her schedule. right?
Put it down.
I mean,
put it in a day or
audience.
two before she. You can put it.
I think when her thing goes out, it needs to be live.
Oh, no question, and tested
right?
and good to go, right? So,
right.
but I think that we should do our announcing to coincide with the knowledge that she's on a Friday schedule, Friday afternoon usually.
So that would mean roughly, assuming she puts something out on January 8th, which is a Friday, then we could run it through the whole next week, and we could even cut it off. We could cut it off on either the night of our meeting or let it run through that week, which would be the 22nd, which is the 2 weeks from the 8th.
And where would the reminder go out?
Well, the reminder then would have to go out on the 17th or the 18th.
Okay.
Sunday
and that
and
wouldn't
Monday.
get in the middle of what Ed is doing with his automated emails.
Right.
Good.
And if we cut it off on the 22nd, I assume that gives everybody that's a whole full week plus a weekend before a weekend and then the whole last week of January. So that would be a fair amount of separation.
Right.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay.
You can put on the top of the survey that it will start on such and such a date and will stop on such and such a date. If it's that close together.
Right.
Right.
And weren't we going to say about how long it takes? Wasn't that one of Doug? Wasn't that one of your recommendations?
Yes. Yes. When I do a test, I can. It produces a time that it takes to do it, and we can add that to the letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay. And then how do we want to? Who will? So we send it out on January. Let's say, just for argument's sake, on the 8th of January. It's over on January 22. How do we? So, Doug, Jeff, you'll get a report from SurveyMonkey that then gets the.
It makes a tabulation of the responses. So
right.
Real time, right?
Yeah.
So any moment, Kim, we can ask what the current results are and
where
take a
we
look
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we might want to think about having a meeting like the fourth day and just take stock of where we are.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Meeting to take stock in the middle of it. Okay. That sounds good. And then
Doug's right. We're going to get a big chunk in the first 72 hours. What's that big chunk?
Right.
Is it 20 or is it 200?
Is it? Yeah. Is it 3 or 200?
Right.
Okay, and then from that, when we see the total, we'll take a look at it, and I guess the question is then what?
Make a report and put it out.
Make it available
Sure.
to the folks who answered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Make a very, very short email.
Well, it also might be
and
content for consideration, as we formulate the introduction part of our plan update, we might reference some of the results we got.
Right.
Well, you could make a little paragraph about that as you introduce the plan. We had a survey, and we
as of
here are the
2021 in January,
survey.
this is what people were thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, they're not, but they're not going anywhere either.
We focus our attention on drafting the update to the plan, the specific. Move on to the next phase of the plan update.
Jeff, I was thinking about this as in your experience, having just lived through, I hope, almost finished with the rules update. The plan is in chapters. Do you recommend that we do updates of all of them and then go through a review process, or do you chunk them up chapters, topic by topic, and review? Do you do it as a whole, or you chunk it up into little pieces and have reviews for each of the separate pieces separately?
I think we can discuss how the best way is to do that. I think I can do a lot of the update stuff. But we've already done a substantial amount of work. We've prepared new base maps. We've updated the at least drafts of the goals and the objectives and the policies.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should start on just updating the descriptions of existing conditions, and that's fairly easy, I think. But to answer your question, Jack, I'm not quite sure what process we should follow. But we can.
I've been thinking about how tough it's been, especially by telephone, to walk through complex documents with the commissioners to get their approval and buy-in. If we've got a document, I mean that the current plan is long.
Yeah.
But the plan is.
I know it's not really the
know,
topic of this, but I was just starting to think about, oh my goodness, how do we do that?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things you can do is eliminate some of the things that no longer need to be there because they've been done.
Right.
And they were
for sure.
Right, but that's editing, Mary. We can, but maybe we do it chapter by chapter. The way it's laid out, the first part is describing existing conditions, and there's been, of course, changes, and then there's a description of what we call the institutional framework, the agencies and the laws and the people that have interest in managing the harbor, and then there's a section on harbor management issues. I believe we did it that way, and then we work from the more general to the more specific in terms of goals, and then policies, and then recommendations. So maybe we just go through it in that order.
Right, and chunk it up. I'm just concerned about our colleague commissioners just getting exhausted if we try to do it in too big a chunk at a time.
Yes, and that's another. Could we just think about that a little bit instead of?
Sure, I just starting to think about it, and I just mostly from the experience of the rules stuff.
Yeah.
It's a long plan, but
I bet you guys went through this.
A large
it must have been
portion
just
of it is good, but it hasn't. Printing it up is an issue.
But remember, Mary, we're not presenting this as we're doing a new plan. We're updating a good plan. We're updating it to reflect changes that have occurred and accomplishments that we've made. But we're not announcing this as we're preparing a new plan for Southport Harbor. That's not.
It's not going to change things really.
Thank God.
It's going to give us.
It's going to give us
about 20
reinforcement
years
for
overdue, too, so nobody has howled for it, so I guess we're all right.
No, we don't. Want to open it up because. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Right.
So I feel like we have done. We're ready. We've got a good survey that can be presented to the commissioners on the 15th of December. That we will hopefully get their blessing to go ahead and get this available to the public in sort of mid-January time frame. Do we want to meet one more time before, right before the survey goes out?
So the first week of January.
Yeah, I'm thinking if that first Friday that we expect the first Select Woman's newsletter to go out is in fact January 8th, then the week before that is New Year's Day. Perhaps we could meet on I can't do Monday and Wednesday afternoons, but we could do Tuesday the 5th. Of January, and just to at that point we would need to have ways to get in touch with the groups that we have identified. Need to have the email and the statement that's going to the email that we would send to people like Community Sailing, Sasquatch, the Yacht Club, the Shellfish Commission. We'd have to have that email drafted and ready to go.
And Jeff, I think the most important thing is we'll need the link for this particular survey once it's up and running.
Yes.
So that's the key thing that we want people to be able to click and go right to it. Yeah.
Right. So
when we get this done, then we ask various people in the various departments in town who do some of this to send it out to their people, right? They have, in other words, they're
we'll
on
have
computers.
The link we'll have the link that we'll provide. If we'll have the link that we'll ask to be put on the town, in these various places, the town website, on our website. But the link has to be ready to go, and the statement about what we're asking people to do will have to be ready to go well before the 8th of January.
Well,
is there any testing work that needs to be done on the survey and SurveyMonkey? I know it's a proven, straightforward system. Is there anything that we need to do to test it beforehand just to make sure it's... I guess when we started, we can put in our own answers, and Jeff can quickly look at what's coming through and make sure it looks like it's processing correctly.
Right.
I guess, right? Because we're not going to do a test. We're just going to do it live.
Now, but the step here is we have need a link, all right, but we need to send that link to somebody.
Right, so we're going to write copy with the link embedded in it, and it's going to go to a bunch of different people in different organizations and in the town and ask them to send that all on to whoever they want to send it to.
Okay, all right, so you'll have all of that in hand, and I have to get these coaches at some point. Okay.
Well, everybody
so once we know the coaches' email addresses, we can send the thing I just described to them, and they pass it along, forward it on to their kids or whoever it is that they're sending.
Right.
Yeah, all right, okay, good. I'm impressed.
Do
the link will take everybody to the very same survey in SurveyMonkey.
Right.
And we can take the survey, as soon as Jeff puts it up, we can be the first ones to do it and make sure it's working right, I think.
Right.
SurveyMonkey's been used for years, and it's a proven system, so I'm not worried. So.
If we meet on the 5th of January, do we think 3 days ahead of the first select woman's...
I think that should be okay.
Should be okay.
By what date would you need all the information to go to the heads of the committees, and then tell them
January
when to send
5th.
it?
January
the same
5th,
day,
Mary.
I think, right? Same the 8th.
January 5th, all the heads of the committees get it.
Yep.
And they have to send
We've got to
out
have it ready to go on January 5th.
All right.
Because if the first select woman sends it out on the Friday the 8th, we have to get it to her before the 8th, and so we need to our work needs to be done by January 5th.
Well, that we better check on. So what is the date that they use as their deadline for the Friday email content?
Yep.
That may not be just 3 days. It probably is, but I don't know.
That may not be enough. The week between, then that gets us quickly, though, into the week between Christmas and New Year's.
Right, so it's a more urgent question is to ask Jen what the deadline is to get a brief blurb added to that Friday thing. I think it's probably okay because it's email, but we should check.
All right.
Now, is Jennifer being very nice to you, Kim?
Oh, Jennifer's being wonderful.
She's fantastic.
Okay, good. I thought
she's
she
very
was,
helpful.
She's
very helpful.
Bold. Yeah.
With all of this phone stuff and the all the different kinds of meetings, and it's crazy making, and she's very helpful. So all right, let why don't we say this, that if everybody could set aside January 5th, I'm sorry, Tuesday, January 5th, at let's say at 3:00, set that aside. I will undertake to approach Jennifer Carpenter about the First Select Woman's newsletter, and if it turns out that in fact that she's got something going out, she may have something going out before. She may have a deadline that's before the 5th.
Right.
We may have to punt.
So
the First Selectman's office could send it out.
Right.
Without, they don't have to fuss about it too much. They could have it around and send it out without our first select person having to write anything.
Well,
oh no, we're going to have the content, but they may need it all set up and ready to go more than 3 days beforehand.
Yeah, I know.
We don't know that yet.
I hear what you're saying.
So that gets us into that week between Christmas and...
All right, well, that's one I check on pretty fast.
The week between Christmas and New Year's, we may have to have a meeting.
Well, Kim, if we have the content, which is basically a subset of what Jeff's already got in his the first page introduction of the survey, we could write that this week, right, or next week, and have it good and ready to go. So, and just tell them not to publish it until it's Friday the 8th, right?
Right. I'm not so worried about...
Our announcement of this could be prepared well in advance of any deadline they might have.
Right, and I'm not so worried about that. I'm really more worried about gathering the information about the folks that we're going to send it to, the coaches.
But as long as they don't get it if those people don't get it before the 8th, but they got it on the 9th or the 10th, that wouldn't be the end of the world either.
That wouldn't be terrible. But we just need everything.
But it would be terrible if they got it before we put it up on the system or something.
Yeah, that would be very bad.
It would be very important to contact, say, at the yacht club, contact Bonnie.
Right.
Or make sure that the yacht club approves of that. I can't imagine they won't, but and if they do, let me know. And but I don't think they will disapprove. And
right.
And also the Sasquatch, you have to get a hold of somebody who runs that.
Do you know? Does anybody know anybody at Sasquatch?
Well, up until very recently, Jack Iams, Sally Iams' husband, was running it, and I think we could make a. Yes, I do know him, and I know her too.
Could you give him a heads up that this is in the works, that a survey is in the works, and we'd like to let his members know?
Yeah, and I'll have to explain to him. All right. Yeah, I was just talking.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we would give them something to send to their members. And the question is, when would they need it by?
Good. Yeah, but if you would just let him know that that's coming and get his email address so that we could forward the same information to him that we send to everybody else, that would be great, Mary.
Yeah.
Okay, and then... warning. Okay. All right. But I think we need to know the date that we're sending it out, because
we're thinking the 8th of January.
Around the 8th of January. Yeah.
On the 8th of January. All right.
Roughly, yeah. And we will send him. We'll send him the link. We'll send him what he needs.
Well, he needs a link, and
he'll get the link and an explanation for what we're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could just...
But all these groups have their own lists now, and you know who... Let's see, who else?
Right, and we want him to use his list, so we just want to get him we're asking him to publicize it as well. So that's why if you could get in touch with Jack, that would be great.
All right, now who's going to get in touch with the management of the Pequot Yacht Club? We've got Bonnie going for it, but I think somebody ought to talk to somebody on the board or whatever. I don't see what difference it makes. Actually, I don't.
We'll figure that out, Mary. We'll just ask Jeff, to take it to whoever.
Yeah.
All right. You take care of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I can take care of that through Jeff and Bonnie if you want.
Okay. So Mary has getting in touch with the leader of Sasquatch, Jeff and Bonnie, and the junior coaches. And we can get. I can ask Betty for the Shellfish Commission. And
she has that. Yeah.
And I'm going to ask Jen Carpenter. And we can ask Ed. So that pretty much covers everybody. And Jeff has the community sailing.
Yes.
So I think that pretty much covers the folks we
Harbor Master?
Yep.
Are you going to warn him?
Yep. He knows it's coming. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And we've added.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
So Jeff is going to prepare this PDF version to be introduced to the commissioners on December 15th, and hopefully they'll approve it. I will get in touch with the First Select Woman's office. Our next meeting at this point is going to be January 5, the Tuesday, let's say 3 o'clock. And if anything comes up in the meantime, we will proceed. I will be in touch.
Sounds good.
Any other?
Very good.
Excellent.
Okay, now, for a very old person, will you, all right, responsibilities have been assigned, okay? Mine is coaches.
Yep.
PYC.
Coaches, Pequot, and
Sasquatch. And that's it
Pequot.
for me, right? All right, and I contact a head of each of these things. Contact someone to do it, and give them a link.
No, just ask for their email address and let them know that we will be sending something. We will be sending them an email linked to a survey that we would like them to forward on to their members.
Okay.
I'll send you an email, Mary. I'll send you an email with with what I just said.
Okay, all right, because this is definitely not my playground anymore. I mean, it never was my playground, so it's a little late now.
But I'll send you an email.
Well, I know where you live. I can call you too.
You know,
yes,
you do know where I live. Very good, everyone.
I don't know where you live, but I have a phone number.
Thank you.
What is your phone number? Give me your phone number, really.
203.
I won't call you very often.
254.
What?
203.
Again, repeat, please. 203.
254.
Next.
0463. Yep. 0463.
All right, I have 203, and then I don't get it. You're muffled.
254.
254. Okay.
04.
04 what?
63.
63. Okay. 203 254 0463.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will have that number, and I have Jeff's number, but he doesn't like to talk to me. So.
Okay. Okay, folks, so I think it's 4:07, and our meeting is adjourned.
That's very good.
Thank you, everybody.
We're on a tight meeting.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yep, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.